Okay, action.
Oh God. Right off the bat, I want to just say a couple things. I feel strange and embarrassed doing this because I've never done it before, and I don't like braggers, and I can be the worst one in the bunch if it comes to it, if I have to prove a point to an idiot. But fucking, so just bear with me, all of it. I'm a motor mouth, I don't shut up. They call me AJ. I'm 73 years old. Started riding in, I think, 63 on a 63 Silver Eagle Cushman, and he'll take a picture of it and put it in there. I got it on the wall. What got me into motorcycles was when I was a kid. There was a guy down at the end of the block, redneck, white trash, cool motherfucker, and he would take washing machine motors. Washing machines used to have little tiny one-cylinder motors in them. And this is in the 50s, because I was born 1950, and this is probably 1955, 56 maybe earlier a little bit. But anyway, he'd take them washing machine motors, and he'd put them in bicycles direct drive for his kids. And I was in our backyard one day, and here come one of his kids, because I knew who they was, come roaring down the alley on one of those little washing machine motor bicycle. It was about like the first Harley. The motor in the first Harley was a little bit bigger, but I seen that, and I was like, whoa, that's cool. But what really topped it off is I'm from Lander, Wyoming. This is being made in Wyoming. But when I was a kid, we'd drive from Lander, Wyoming down to Rocky Ford and Fowler, Colorado. And my mom had a sister down there. And she was married to a guy named Harry Tilburg. I guess that's crowd, I don't know. And Fowler, Colorado back then, it's real famous for cantaloupes. Swink, Fowler, those little towns down there. But anyway, he was the mechanic for the city. He was the city mechanic crew by himself. But he was one of those old time guys that were a craftsman that could do anything. And that's before you could buy stuff. You had to take raw steel and make things from scratch. I got the tail end of that stuff a little bit with some of those old guys, all that, when I first started riding. But anyway, we was down there visiting, and my dad, he liked cars and stuff. So did Harry. And he told old man, he says, come look at my new car. And it was like, I must have been, by then I was probably, I don't know, probably 1958 or something. I was 10 years old. But anyway, he had I don't know what year they come out. And a lot of this is a long time ago, and I'm probably getting a lot of times wrong, this and that, and my age wrong. But anyway, the old man says, yeah, and they walked out there, and he seen it sitting out there, and it was I believe it was a Plymouth Fury when they were great big. And he goes, my dad's name was Earl, and he says, Earl, check this motor out. And he popped the hood, and he raised it up, and the first time I ever heard the term, and he had I don't think it was a Hemi. It was one of those, like a 440, those big wedge motors, I guess they call them. I know a little bit about cars, but not that much. But anyway, it was a monster motor. But it had 2 4-barrels on it. And the 4 barrels, rather than set in the middle of the motor, they was setting off to the side, and they was offset. And they were Carter AFBs. and it was all factory. You could special order, back in the old days, you could special order luxury cars all souped up and everything else. If you was willing to pay the money, they'd custom build them for you to set them up at the factories. But anyway, I'll never forget, and they were offset, not in the middle, straight across. They were offset like this, and they were huge, and they had air cleaners on, but it was all factory made, and you could shut the hood, you would never know what was in there. But the old man goes, oh man, he says, this thing will run. He goes, oh yeah. And I remember it seemed like he had a 3-speed on the tree, and he goes, you want to go for a ride? And he goes, yeah. And I was a little enough. My old man wasn't a real big guy. He might have been 5'7", 5'8", as far as being tall. When he was young, he was stocky. But I can remember hanging onto my dad's hand and looking up at him. So I wasn't very old. But anyway, so we get in that car, and I think the old man put me in the front seat because he knew what Harry was going to get after it. That way he could grab me and hold me where I didn't hit the dash or anything. No, I didn't know. I was a dumbass. I was ADHD when I was a kid, so I was hyped out of my mind, couldn't focus. But anyway, so he set me, and I'm still that way. But I'm way more mellower now than I ever was. But anyway, we take off in it, and he gets where it's safe to do it, and he lays into that fucking thing. And back then, all I had was bias ply tires, and they wasn't very wide either. So if you had something that was really strong, you had to kind of do like the drag racers do in them funny cars and pro stocks and stuff. If you break loose, you're fucked. So you had to feather it and be careful and know how to drive. But anyway, so he lays into the damn thing and slams it up in fucking second gear and lays rubber for a fucking 100-foot. Smoke. Tires were smoking even in the second gear. I remember that. Threw it down in third, and the old man reached over and put his arm across me, pressed me into that seat. I don't know how fast we got going, but the old man goes, Harry, we got a kid in here. He said, I imagine the old man let him run it up to 100, 120 or something. And they shut him down. But anyway, so we get back to the house, and we're hanging out visiting. He's sitting around, he says, I picked me up old Harley. He says, and my dad liked Harleys, he just never could afford one because he's feeding us, putting clothes on our back. His friends, he used to ride on his friends and stuff. His friends would let him take him for a spin. But fucking, he goes, yeah. He says, yeah, I got it all fixed up too. He says, I don't know if it was bone-ass stock. I imagine Harry bought it and it needed painted and overhauled and everything. And there was nothing Harry could do. Completely overhaul fucking any motor or anything. Welding, tigging, fabbing. I mean, it was amazing. And he had a great big old-fashioned shop, about a four-stall shop or bigger, because he had to pull the city equipment in there. And the doors on the shop had little windows in them. So you could walk by and you could look at those, a bunch of windows. You could look right in there and see what was in there. They had no crime back in them days. There wasn't much crime anywhere. But anyway, he goes, yeah, that's good. This is later on after we was in the house. I don't know, an hour or two later or something before we left. But the old man says, yeah, hell yeah, I'd like to see it. And this is the part that really did it. And when we was traveling in the car, my folks go, oh, kids, me and my little brother. I got a little brother 2 years younger and a sister that's 7 or 8 years older than me. But she'd tell, especially me and Donnie, they would go, because girls ain't that interested in that shit. And I'd seen the guy on the bicycle with the washing motor. And I'd seen motorcycles. There wasn't too, back in them days, you didn't see a lot of motorcycles. Old dresser freaks, there wasn't that many people around. There was a few here and there. But anyway, they would go, kids, look, motorcycles, when we was going down the road. And we'd jump up, and I've had this happen to me. We'd jump up, and boy, they'd be behind us, and we'd be up in that back window looking at them and waving and smiling and giggling. And those old Harley riders, they'd honk their horn, you know, and they'd wave at us. And then I remember the first time, and I don't know what they were. They was Indians or Harleys, because I know the sound now. But fucking, the first time this happened, that's what did it. Was tripped me out just seeing them behind us. But they fucking dropped her a gear, did whatever, and went to fucking pass us. You know, it's summertime, windows are down and everything, right? And anybody out there that rides, went through this as a kid, you know how it is. They go right by you. They're right. You can damn near reach out and touch them. And them motherfuckers went roaring around us. Tank shifts and rocket clutches. My eyes just bugged out of my head. I just lost it right there. And that was the straw that broke the camel's back. I didn't know what them fucking things were. I knew they was motorcycles because that's what my folks called them. But that roaring sounded like a P-47 fucking fighter plane or a Messerschmitt or something. I mean, it was like, whoa, fuck. And fucking, so I was hooked. And I had a bicycle. And like I said, I was hyper. So I was all over the place, wouldn't shut up, way worse than I am now. And I would nag for shit, this and that. And my dad didn't have shit when he was young, and my mom didn't have shit because they literally got thrown out when my dad was 10 years old with a 2-year younger brother, my mom when she was 12. So they never had toys or a childhood or nothing, but you'd never notice they're the nicest people in the world. Went through the Depression, the war. So I've had brothers that's had it hard, and it was okay with them when they was young because they didn't know any different. A lot of them didn't know they was poor till later on, and it's like, oh, we was poor, but still everything was cool. We ate most of the time, and, you know. But anyway, I spoiled. I had 3 squares a day. The biggest fights in the family were over what the old lady was going to feed us because my old man, after the service, went to work in a VA hospital and washing dishes, and he worked his way all the way up to be the head guy, and he was a dietitian without no education, nothing else. So I knew all about the nutrients and all that horse shit. But fucking, it was funny. Oh, they'd get mad as hell. No lady, she knew what she was doing too. That was what was wrong. They was both about the same. But anyway, I nagged at the old man. I wanted, and this was a little later on, probably a couple years later, and the old man, I had a real nice bicycle, and it's just when ape hangers and banana seats come in, the little custom motorcycles, the first ones, and I had one of those. I think the old man bought a regular one, and he bought the handlebars and the seat. There was a guy that run a bicycle shop, old-fashioned, old big wood, old building from the cowboy days. He had all kinds of bikes in there, and he would fix up old bikes and make them like new. And knowing my old man, he probably got me a new one right off, but it could have been one of the ones had a restoration done to it. And that old guy that did it was, all those old guys were craftsmen. So when they was done with stuff, it was like new, even if it was wore out when they started. But anyway, so I had a really nice bicycle. And I told old man, and I'd caught on. We had a clothesline, and my mom used those old wooden clothespins. And not the real old ones, they didn't have no spring. You just pushed them on there real hard. But my mom, she probably had those too. But she had the modern ones with the spring, the old wooden ones. And they played cards all the time with the neighbors because they didn't have money to go out and stuff. So they'd play cards with the neighbors. I went in there. I seen some kid do it or somebody. But I went in there and I seen some kid put cards on his spokes to make it sound like a motorcycle. But anyway, so the old lady had the clothespins hanging in an old bag on the clothesline. I went out there. First I went in the house, sneaky motherfucker that I was, because she wasn't going to give them to me. And I stole some of them cards. Then I stole some of them clothespins. And we didn't have a lot. We lived good. It's just, they had to watch every damn penny. But anyway, so I put those cards on there and went right around my bike, and I was cool. I was like some of those other kids, you know. Those kids going, oh, that's cool. And me, I've always drove everything in the ground. The old man even told me that one time. So I'd have to put too many of them on there. But they don't last long. They get where they ain't stiff anymore.
Yeah, they break
So then
down.
you got to change them out. Well, I got caught stealing the cards. I got in trouble for that. I think the old lady old man or old lady, the old lady probably. Because the old lady was around most of the time. The old man was at work. She gave me some cards. I don't know, might have been wore out ones or whatever. But I got in trouble for it. You didn't want to piss her off, nicest lady in the world. You piss her off, she'd beat the living shit out of you. She'd fucking blister you with a coat hanger or a fucking iron cord. They'd throw them in prison for that now, but she didn't beat me enough. But fucking, anyway, and I probably make them sound like a monster. I got quite a few, but I didn't. I got quite a few times they didn't, probably more. But anyway, and then I got thinking, I don't know if I seen a motorcycle or something, or when one of them went by, but I seen the mufflers on them, chrome mufflers in the back there by the wheel. I told the old man, I wanted a muffler. He goes, you want a muffler? I said, yeah, the cards make it sound like a motorcycle. I said, I want a muffler. He goes, okay. He says, I'll make you a muffler. So he brought home, I'll never forget as long as I live. You know, I'm 73, so this is a long fucking time ago. Some of it I remember real well. This I remember real well. He brought home a pretty good size, like those tomato cans you get Campbell's tomato juice in. And he peeled the wrapper off of it, and it was shiny. Then he wired it on there, and oh man, he was a pretty good mechanic. He wired it on there real nice for me. So now I had a muffler, and I'd sound like a motorcycle. I was hot shit. Well, me and the old man, and how I ended up with my first motorcycle, which was, I believe, a 63 Cushman Super Silver Eagle, which means this one had the bags, the windshield, it had the chrome cover over the new style Cushman motor. It was like, it seemed like 11 and a half horsepower motor, and it was a lot more powerful than the older ones were like tote goats. This one, and this baby was dressed out. Floorboards, tank shift. That's how I learned to ride a tank shift and a foot clutch on that old Cushman. But anyway, me and the old man used to go down, and it's like I'd start nagging for something. The old lady that had you Alden's magazine or Montgomery Ward's or J.C. Penney's or something. And back in them days, that was before they shot Kennedy. They sold guns. They sold anything you wanted in there, guitars, everything. But they go, well, get the wish book out. And we knew what that meant. And I think it was the Aldens, and they was real thick. They had clothes, everything in there. But you'd get in there, and whatever it is you was wanting, a lot of times they had a nice big colored picture of it. You could sit there and look at it, and like, oh man, I want one of those so bad, you know. But at least you got to look at it. And as spoiled as I was, a lot of times, and all us kids, if they got one of us something, they always got the other two something, because that's just how they was. Because you got to listen to the other two kids. Oh, they're your favorites. We didn't get anything. They'll cry and snivel and everything else. But anyway, so there was a lot of window shopping, looking at things you didn't get to buy when you went to the stores, you know. And you go in the store and see it in real life. It's like, whoa, that's what sometimes my mom, she wouldn't let you touch anything. You kept your hands right here.
Oh, yeah.
Because if you touched anything, you got jacked up. Because if you broke it, they had to buy it. They didn't have those. She used to feed our whole family. There was 3 kids, an old man and her, probably $25 a month, and we ate good too. Everything made from scratch, but anyway, times are way different. I'm old enough. I've seen this change and get different several times, evolution-like kind of. But anyway, we would go to the car lot and look at cars. My dad loved cars. Now, a lot of times, even his old work car, that's the first car I ever drove. It was probably an old, I want to say like a 43. It was a 40s model. I don't know what it was. I got a picture of it somewhere, one of his cars. But he'd always take, and my mom said I was a lot like him, take stuff and it'd be all, and just clean it up really nice, rub it out, rub compound, get it shining, polish everything, get it to looking the best you can by working your ass off, poor boy in it. That's where I picked that up, thank God. That's the first car I ever drove. He let me drive it through the gates when we was out hunting rabbits out in the prairie or whatever. But anyway, we'd go to the car lots. And they had, of course, really nice used cars that was year 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 10 years old, really nice shape, big old Chrysler Imperials and Cadillacs and all the cool Chevys and Fords and everything else. And this was 1958, maybe 59 or 60. Maybe even a little later. But anyway, we went out to the car lot, and he knew the guy that run the car lot. Everybody loved my dad. And he was a war hero, but he didn't believe in that shit. And we'll get to that later on in these videos. But because he wasn't a bragger, real quiet. I used to tell people he's so quiet he's scared the dead. And he was always like that because he had to be thinking when he was a kid too, and it just becomes a habit being real quiet when you're in the jungle. Like Axl Rose says, you're in the jungle now, baby. Says you can have anything you want, but you better not take it from me, motherfucker. And so he kind of growed up in the jungle. So you keep quiet, keep watching, listen. But he's a real nice guy. Everybody loved him. And everybody knew what he went through in the war. And he got in some famous shit, the Battle of Bulge and Anzio and stuff under Patton, Third Army. But fucking, so people had a lot of respect for him. And he's just the nicest guy in the world. I didn't deserve him. He didn't deserve to have a shit-ass kid like me, but that's okay. We got things cleaned up just before he died. But fucking, we went up the car lot. This car lot, and he knew the car lot guy, the guy that owned it. The guy just loved shit out of the old man. I told him, Earl, I'll make you a deal. He said, don't be telling nobody, and I ain't giving you no chicken thief, car lot salesman fucking shit. He says, I'll give you a deal. Oh man, I said, well, I'm no better than anybody else. Don't make it a special deal. Just give me the same deal you would anybody else without boning me too bad. We all know how car lot guys are. I had a brother that was one. But if they give you a car, they made money on it. That's the truth too, because I've seen that happen. But anyway, because they give me the car, but they made money on it. Felt sorry for me, I needed a car. So. But anyway, so we're walking around that car lot, and it wasn't a real big one. I don't even think it was a dealership. It was just a little 4-boy car lot with 15, 20 cars maybe at the most. There wasn't much there. But there was walking around, and I'll never, this I remember, certain shit hits home with me. It was a 58 Ford Fairlane, red and white, with red and white interior, okay? Didn't have the Continental kit on it, but it had the 352 Interceptor in it, okay? And somebody had cut off the steering wheel, made it look like an airplane steering wheel, and put actual ivory knobs on the end of the steering wheel. Besides that, they might have fancied it up somewhere else in there, but it's too far back from remember. But I remember that. But that Ford, my old man was a Ford guy. Fuck a bunch of Chevys. We used to watch the stock car races when I was a kid in the early and mid '60s, and Chevy would win. Not time, Chevy won, because I always liked Chevys, 55, 6, 7s, 8s, all that shit. And you go, yeah, but it had a Ford motor in it. I think he was bullshitting me because I was a kid and didn't know any different. He may not have been. He wasn't dumb. But anyway, he seen that Ford. That Fairlane, beautiful. And I love red and white, like 58 red and white Vets. They're kind of an iconic thing, those little red and white 58. I think they're 58 Vets with a detachable top. But I've always liked, red's probably my favorite color. Black was for years, and it still is. It's okay, but I got burnt out on black, and I like two-tones. Those old paint jobs, like those old, I forget what they call them. You can go ahead and let her out. Those old paint jobs on the old Harley, Art Deco paint jobs. Go outside. Go see. Good girl. Small Rottweiler. I love her to death. She saved my life. Got me out of a trailer. I almost got gas. Wasn't for her, I'd be dead. Plus, Rottweilers are some of the best dogs God ever created. But anyway, the old man seen that, and I seen it, and I was going ape shit over it. And I can't remember if the guy let the old man take it for a ride or not. Can't remember. I do remember getting it and riding home in it. But anyway, the old man, my mom was the nicest lady in the world, but she was, I say this respectfully, she was the bitch from hell. That's where I got my inside.